Namo Jongden Den Tejin Shinpo Zhangpo Yangdo Sobe Song Ribo Don Xiaosu Denbong Dewa Xinbong Jiten Xiang Jiubu Neve Konglu Jiuwa Nana Miang Miang Nong Jie Denbo Sangye Zhongden De Pe Jiawo Xiao Jiao Luo Lo Xiangsi Lu Jiu Jiu Su Qie Wu 光子光年出去东去，早见电脑公报的过年，马年就点电脑就结束，这次给我去了相思梦，忙到跟我就都是让我，一些教授谁就能不住，找我一点送到给我。 永不求你就老相思梦，千秋颠簸直面到夜香，先度着我就老相思梦，对着见着随我送我去，两面清净就老相思梦，广播突厥却颠簸。 借鉴别的波波，所诺有点叫做些，叠见是老相思后，道别的叫着我就，给月给送的主去，绝多的东求救我，解救求了相思路，这年昼夜那样的。 老婆多老肉多年，心愿东坡一点点，感觉那样相思梦，留不这样没消息，要我别送错我心，让月三年永顺的，年年上街点不一，把我这人莫名动。 有么事我就不懂，我能落到这多不，这些就能得到懂，是能的越懂这是多一，高不多年解决这点点，我当切月老主月，随便说的着我着我着。
Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Ultra Peak Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of a lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Sharadvatiputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they're unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomenon. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on until no old age and death and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom, And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva, noble Avalokiteshvara, that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Sharadvati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One.
Dozo gyunla guji dozi yunla zhu ji yang de song. Dodo ji zhu nyamu nyinu de ji jia zhu lu zi jin. Ma ri mi si dong yin yu gu ji ni jun zi ji zhu nu. De ni do ji sa ji do zi yu de lu. 就是都愿乎，就着就当去年见着到的命，让别养老的，阿拉巴扎那的，阿拉巴扎那的，阿拉巴。哦，的，这的这前绕日子这，老了的我面包上是，嘎当天就上路多把烟，罗着不别弄，这多呀多呀多呀，多呀就，就呀就呀。 Kari Chimbi Gune Jizon De Gusun Doje Muju Zodo Su Tenzo Gile Sheye Zhibi Gu Taye Zhuye Rewa Gongye Su Mali Xie Jia Jie Zibi Du Jia Jie Zu De La So Wan De 多觉清波的心，多觉清，就在的罗波东那罗波，边就中边波东阿的上，要来新老觉老所望的，上波东面一年能着的，昨天对月的当着边的。这个过三的年四年过，要见许边见了所望的，要要月面修建了主道，大王这把这边不交见，三界公众宝宝有三所，上蒙大愿见了所望的。西周东北穷阿的上，高当天边面部中的的，念就能修过去所罗苏，高当那么能罗所望的，望见心的所见中阿我到这边我修介绍的。当我点别到不给主见，要是就把见了所望的，就是我跟的那么多的讲，完了讲的些年最重的，就当听我们中就在边，专业老么那个所望的。让教所着跟了到一面，月上淘宝这边就么就，在月这边淘看这把也，生在先年能了所望的，叫我更多养到那么多，这面这边了老学见。早当郎就有点少做，多就讲给个牛多说上节就，多就讲那那讲就我多多年就做节，好个就节就别说那节。天修三界诸佛修三界诸，所界诸能那将诸佛度多年就所界，大愿求界界别所那界，到了变修三界诸佛修三界，就当所界诸能那将诸佛。大年就是钱，大给缺钱这边做那些，到了变现上，若不有，哎，哎呀，我从哪里前年接的，哪里的做汽修的，我学费钱的现在做高档的下去了，高档的了嘛，是的了，他大一钱的些说哪呢？他哪里这？아니 고물루도 바덴 다와 잡았다. 아니 산제 장난세. 되시. 당연히 진 잠일인데 놀러라. 나초에도 깨치 셰는 신경 지나 나이 하쇼니 커요. 다 나래 친구 놀러라. 제 라바 예바도 요만이 된 전에 진양도 커네. 니 수보치를 다셔서 그치. 근데 제 체내 제비지 계산 그거 지체 동보.
So the subject matter of this Lam Rim, which is the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment, is in terms of It's in terms of conduct. It is conduct for the deeds of the teachings of the deeds of Kadamba tradition. And in terms of views, it's the view of Nalanda masters, namely Nagarjuna, Chandrakriti, Buddhapalita. And those are the Buddhist teachers in this world. One could say that incomparable Buddhist masters, incomparable practitioners, and great beings. So, in other words, we're very fortunate to be able to have such a wonderful opportunity to engage in such a matter, the subject matter, which are the thought, the contents were completely written by those great beings, which is took the essence of all of these teachings and put it into the Lam Rim by Lama Tsongkhapa.
다 된들이 친해 저와라네 도마 경로 제가 지 마타 양가 속에 다지 가는 집어 담바 대다기 아니 투지 간지 진제네 송셔야나 아니로 다 뒤자 타바다 타제 진행하라 최에 미 간지잖아 대전에 가서 잡여봐 지다 첨바다 소마나 얘기 아니 대전도 지나에 뒤지 거기 간투면 넘어나 얘기 나와 될지 주에 전화 다른 제긴 인생의 지 마타에 들리지 경로지 제샤나 근데 딱 뒤다기 투지에다 봐 장소다 가서 대서와다 자쳐와라 그래서 등주지만 또 렌데지면은 제셔와이나 근데 취세질지 비모나나리 깔레카 차치나요 지 등주지 이거는 배저 동토와이나 응문에 깔레카도 쳐와라 맞아 아니 아마 손질은 상하게 된데 녀와는 저는 로고 쳐봐서 되는도 그래서 야 진세요비 돌아와
So to listen to these teachings, one should cultivate appropriate motivations as a key to this listening to these teachings of the Dharma. And if possible, one should cultivate a supreme motivations. If that is not possible, one should at least have motivations of following the footsteps of those great beings, the great beings that we mentioned earlier. And there, one should have the motivations of at least I will try my best to fulfill at least a portion of the thoughts and prayers and dedication of those great beings of the past. Because when it comes to complete fulfillment of the noble thoughts or the noble wishes of those beings, it is very deep and vast and deep and very profound. As Indonesian practitioners, it means we may not be able to bring to the complete fulfillment of those noble wishes. At least we should have these motivations of fulfilling at least a portion of their motivations. So with this kind of motivations, and even for taking a couple of hours to listen to these teachings, even one may have pains on one's knees, or having some of you may be getting hot, or sacrificing a couple of hours will really become a meaningful and purposeful. Just as we have a saying that by receiving tantric initiations on empowerment and not being able to observe their commitments, if one goes to hell realms, it is worthwhile to go to hell realms.
당가 속에 양 자지 산의 동안 지도와 Tanga tsong mongchiwa de talo ishi chunga chukang de tsare. Tanga tsong ke pena chudo uchi majana tanda yada chi duya chi du mindu. Tanda pala kali jo shangi tagarangi ta mahomba shido na de sare jiwashima ta mena de digro. Ta jiwashima singi chi yo ayi na nga chinto gugu ya na. Tangi ngane chi che go sare go sa mare se na ta soso shinju che ro. Ta ngubi ne tsuki tembi ko na ke mewa ayi na tanda nga de ruru chene ndamade xie de tise chola de jiro. A ngane zhone yi de jiwa shima sengi ji yosari ngi zubun dele xinpa yi nga la jin nam xie sengi ji mendawa jin du sengi na de pungpo de meta tongpa nyangdo zo zho yi chen ji yinsa re yinsa ma re sangi de jina. Ane tate tanda pala nga zo lo yi jing nga jing nga lega che xe taa rangi choki je de na de sa re we. Ta misi tupe chi kaya je du ye me na. Ta ngane chi chiyo sengi ji yo ayi na. tela kante chi che kosa re se ne mene shinju che ro kasa na maso tero laba da maso shije se de sala ko paji beji ne zo de ko tenchi ge deba de mewa yin za ne jeba che ne deba yong go chi je na ona ge deba de ro ta ti ge deba che rang ji le che ro che wa yin son ne se kang ge do de ne ge de ro so yang zang chi zang zang la yang so 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 shinju che ro 나 단다 벌은 변한 아치 걸어 가서 내가 차서 나올때 저 장안에 해 드려도 그러봐. 다 근데 지금 맞은 늘 지전들을 견자들 편도 영의 진행나 면에서 나도 신주리지. 오늘 지 영의 진행서나 다 배상도 소만하기 되는 갈래도 지잖아. 손에지 조아를 진도 거사를 상인데 진도하다.
So here now, we should ask this question to ourselves for the last 40 to 50 years. So here in this group, most of us are 40 plus. And what have we done in the past of those years? We all know that we did our best to do something that's good for us, that make us happy. And every step we may have taken in these past years, we have stepped towards happiness. However, we have not achieved the happiness that we long to achieve. Are we? If this is the case, should we take a different step which enables one to achieve this happiness that we have been longing to achieve, the state of happiness that we long to achieve for that many years? So now try to examine ourselves and see, is there anything else that we can really do? Is there a thing so-called life after death? If there's no life after death, if there's no future life of one may, then that is completely different. It's a different case. If there's something, what we call life after death, or the future life, or the next life, if this is the reality, we should do something else, and we should think about that. Because here, if there's no life or future life or the next life, then once one is passed away, one's body will be cremated, and that's the end of the story. If this is not so, then we really need to think about it, that passing away and cremating one's body is not the end of one's story. Then one should really need to think about, what have we done in the past 40, 50 years? And what has really gone wrong that we have not been able to reach the level that we would like to reach, would like to be. So why should, is there anything that is beneficial of engaging in practice of Dharma? How is it? And this is how we should always analyze, particularly here, the followers of the Buddha's teachings, the Westerners. The way you follow the teachings are what we call the sharp faculty, the followers of the sharp faculty that I would always think about. Because unlike, other, nation, the people from other nations, such as in Himalayan nations and so on, because they have a belief in them right from the beginning of their birth, due to their family and so on. So they have this belief. It is not, it doesn't require much for them to analyze. But for you, and such belief system was not there. Even it is only came into you after meeting the teachers and after reading the teachings of the Dharma. So therefore, I would always call the followers of the sharp faculty, because the followers of the sharp faculty undergoes critical analysis and then follow the teachings and so on. So therefore, now we have, I myself has come to know all of you for last 15 to 20 years. Is there any progress that we may have met ever since we met and discussed the teachings of the Dharma? And so this is how we should always analyze and, take a time to analyze what should we do? How do we practice? Is there any practice that really helps us in our life, this life, as well as the future? So now, even if you have not much time to look at other teachings, by looking at these teachings that we are discussing currently, which is the stages of the path enlightenment teachings, and try to think about and explore it, go just yourself, submerge into it. And then you will see the benefits of following these teachings. Because when the great master who actually composed these teachings, he did not compose these teachings to gather more students or the more followers, nor he had composed these teachings and written this great treatise on the stages of path to enlightenment for his name, or his for his for the purpose of accumulating wealth and so forth. It is completely not. So it is merely, his motivation is merely to benefit all other beings who are fortunate enough to be able to come across with these teachings. So it is thus, if one is able to follow these teachings, as I have always said, that we have now came together and gathered for many years, and I acted as a propounder of the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa, or the elucidator of the Lama Tsongkhapa teachings, or we have we have gathered in a discussion manner of this teachings of the Lama Tsongkhapa. So I would, confidently say that if you follow these teachings, even if you do not receive any benefit, you will not lose anything.
아니 지 감각이 레와치데 미지기 된다라 아니 대령아 저 철안데 노 여상이지 아니 대양지 랑도진에 시지 말로 받지라니 시주체고요 아니 대랑만에 지 타지데 네 된적에 랑도 만나 내지는 조비 생이지 소화리 비단다라 그만이 스치미 받지.
So now, as usual, let's visualize Buddha Shakyamuni above in the space, above one's crown, and surrounded by all great beings of Lam Rim Chenmo. And imagine that they are not in just by such as an image or something, but rather they are all present in person. And imagining that they're actually, delightfully gazing at oneself. And this is what you should visualize. And having visualized that, then one should imagine being oneself in the presence of those great beings, is surrounded by all other sentient beings who have the same hopes and objectives. And with this kind of motivations, and think about that, it's such a wonderful, it's fortunate to be able to engage in discussions of the teachings of what is to be abandoned and what is to be achieved, what is to be accomplished. For 2 minutes, meditate for 2 minutes.
I think the cherry jimulo, Jen cherry. This, yeah. I think yeah, cherry jimulo then, yeah.
Oh no, this is okay.
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 I think there's good chair.
As long as I don't snore, I'm okay.
Small line. Okay. Yes. 你看你弄个东西来，那呀，呀，他等着一跟我去把今年的呢，刚生把些去，想去浪接人吧，是这哇，你做个商界给啥人都爱听，哪一？
So, with these motivations, the teachings that we are discussing is the great deities on the stages of the path to enlightenment, which is the certificate of going to state of enlightenment.
当然呢，等着给老人节目的这一世界一起，全国正把电别性这个被敲啊去，你当了给把这边是去就敲啊去，你敲完你当电别去了，你是知道想法，当帮我就那么觉得这个人话，这一世界就得就送上去。
The actual discussions here will begin by laying out 4 major outlines. The first outline is the greatness of the authors given in order to show the teachings has noble source. The second is showing the greatness of the teachings in order to engender respect for the teachings and how to listen to the teachings in which both teachings and its author are great. And the fourth is the sequence in which the disciples are to be taught the actual instructions.
他电脑老觉得嘛是的，可是当帮我就那么觉得这个人过来在一世界呢，去可是浪就早些年电别去的，电脑老觉得像人吧，你生意的大浪的全部给浪我用过做事电的人，毕竟我说我些年电视呢就没了有送就把的人送进多，对，啥就电用的多。
So then the fourth major outlines has the sub-outlines of subdivisions of its own, which is how to rely on the teacher, which is the root of one's spiritual path. And then the other one is how the students then train their mind after having relied on the teachers. In these 2 sub-outlines or the subdivisions, the entire teachings of the Lam Rim Chenmo is explained in these two outlines. And in fact, within these 2 outlines, starting from relying upon the spiritual teacher all the way to the state of unity or the complete enlightenment is discussed under these 2 headings.
他电脑老觉得像有点把了你，第一点了，你不能必须给我弄，你不觉得那个去你，你不觉得那个去了你，忘记拿着了，你不觉得你不能去我去，他你不能去我了，送就被出门到中国人垃圾人嘛，就被人呢，就被清明垃圾人嘛，娘是年纪去，他嘛就被清明垃圾人嘛，娘是年纪了送。提前了就如果升级考难点吧，升的觉得就被去升级了学把路升级，他多么年纪了，到升级了老把路去了送，升级了老把路被晋升，老把这我了上级们就把点吧，老把路被人把年写吧，就多么年纪了，到老把路被人把年写吧，你学把就了提把进吧就了这的七把多就提把了，这就同步了送，提前了这个上升级了吧，当地上呢就是能把从呢阶段里面出去，到多么年纪了，从呢阶段里面出来你刚了老别些，点了老别人吧去，他点了老别人吧了你学把这了这结果发现他们了老出去，多么的是发现他们老这了住，现在老多偏些吧，现在老多就我嘛的电影电影这个就这些对吧？现在的好多那电影个广告被禁止，个人也不说是老这些，他多么干这啥？他说是老这了送你现在老这好多老这些，多么这啥？他好多老这了送，好多就现实，好多就错点吧，好多就老不要，好多刚别是刚别好多都别吃，他多么了送。长代的年代就送了我说绿绿我们这边去接那种，那多么你在困难你多么你就到电脑而且，同步了送你嘛，这同步了你，嘛的送不了你去，在困难你了就别人把在困难你电脑的我去，在困难你的把我了你，各家我说啊，在他让讲的路写吧，你写吧电脑到我这里去学去。 네 동보라 가정 문제 그 비제세 대만진 비신로 봐 네 롱로 샤바스 당가서 아니 돈이 또 하도라지를 제발라 아니 동보 아니 동반이 가르게 동바래 아니 가르 이게 아니 가샤 가르를 두샤 가르를 세 아니 가장 문제지 결라 아니 산제 데이는 조타모 제에는 조타모 제게 가샤 간데지래 다다 엄마 타지 롱로 가샤 간데지래 세 아니 가샤 이걸 계시셔서 맞아 까고
So we're on the chapter of this of special insight, which is the great special insight with the Lam Rim Chenmo. And so in order for one to attain or to achieve this special insight, one should first understand what is the emptiness really means. And when it comes to the understanding of emptiness, one should know empty of what. When such question is asked, then object of negations is coming into picture. When the object of negation is coming into picture, then the question of the four different philosophical tenets arises. And each of those four tenets have their own exclusive way of identifying object of negations, and what is to be negated and what is to be established. And so then how the Madhyamaka Prasangikas identifies its object of negations.
당가서 너도 그것을 보고 회사 가르잖아. 엄마 단조하게 아니 주소지 쭉 간대지나 이때는 두고 뒤상에 여마를 살아요. 그러니까 아니 좋다 엄마 저기 뒤상에 매버도 가요디 단에도 여버도 좋두고 말이에요. 나 엄마 단조에 여버 좋두고 그래. 단에도 여는 눈에 지요 그래서. 아니 살려서 돼.
So we are currently on the specific topics that are the specific discussion that we're having here is when the Madhyamaka Prasangikas are negating the intrinsic existence of matter and all other phenomena. In other words, there's no such phenomena down to atoms do not exist intrinsically. So they actually negates or rejects intrinsic existence across the board of entire spectrum of phenomena. Whereas then when they are rejecting all this lack of intrinsic existence, then the Buddhist initialist, the initialist are then arguing by saying that if you are rejecting all phenomena, entire spectrum, and if you reject entire spectrum of phenomena or non-intrinsic existence, then how can you actually establish the conventional existence? You will not be able to establish conventionality. So this is the topic that we are currently discussing on.
다른 가족이 사지에서는 내가 좀 쉬어지래. 맞게 되나 엄마 탄저회라 라신 주가 뒤상에면은 라신 주가 라신이 마주 비텐도 정한 대선지 나자테 바데 탄지에 가사지 내인스 데레 단다티 와 제지 주가 뒤상에 매비테네 니 샤시제 나자 조도 바데 탄저 하나나마도 여말에 니 샤시제 나자 조도 탄이 이렇게 제스로 탄이 비세밍만 이렇게 제스 다때 가르제세데 고아라바 징마톤 해두고 텔레소는 엄마 탄지에 따와텔라 수설나 나게맹이 차그래 파쇼데 라시지 마두바 제 라우차디 아니 수쇼텔라 라마도치 ro nga so no ten lo me se de ani chi cha men jo tu so na ni je na lu du yu ma ni ba le se na nga so lo zhen na so no song de de yang ga che se de dan de.
So here now, the important part of the of the teachings of the Madhyamaka Prasankhika's teaching here, Madhyamaka Prasankhika's standpoint is that on the one hand, they are rejecting intrinsic existence across the board. On the other hand, on the basis of non-intrinsic existence, they're able to establish the path and fruitions, and all those other conventional phenomena, existence of conventionalities. And this is a very, very exclusive views of Madhyamaka Prasankhika. There's no any other tenets can be able to establish other than Madhyamaka Prasankhika.
Tanga su nu sin da ne nga so ge su su ji chen na ta nga so da ran xin ga ga yo su zo ba de ni omar tan jo ge ran xin chi zo ba da di sa yo ma la ge du de me na ni ko no yo ro as ni yo chi de tan ye de yo chi re tan ye de yo na ga de chi le tan ye de yo sa la wo lo so na ka si chi chen no song xie so a ni tan ye bi chen ma la zha ba si ji ji ni tan ye bi chen ma xian ju me ne ma chen ma xian ju me ne ba ji ni dong ba ni tawa tela pobe di neka sala ine yunju kola mene bachi kariwa. Tani ki tsamala jidang jitena chaba senere, tani bi tsamala chaba, ine tsamala chaba nagi de tsama jenju kola neba meba, ine jite itende tumani ji tawa tela pobe chana ine kola mene bachi karis. Deso ni chachen sanso na ni tani do yoba. De xie kabo kama mendua.
That's what Mindu. When the Madhyamaka Prasankhyakas are when Madhyamaka Prasankhyakas are rejecting the intrinsic existence of across the board, then if this is the case, the question arises, how do we really then establish on the basis of this non-intrinsic existence, how do you establish conventional existence? How does one then determine whether something that exists conventionally, in other words? Then the answer to this question, as a three specific answer to this question given by the Madhyamaka Prasankhyakas, by saying that we would hold to something that exists conventionally. The first is if it is known to a conventional consciousness. If it is known to a conventional consciousness. And second, if no other conventional valid cognition contradicts its being as it is thus known. And the third, if reason that actually analyzes reality, and this analyzes whether something intrinsically exists, does not contradict it. So this is how the Madhyamaka Prasankhika be able to establish the conventional existence on the basis of non-intrinsic existence.
Tendriki traba tela zu tela tsema jenje ko zu mai ba sheke me do. Ta zu tabare la so na zu mata bo do no re zu ne demba tubare la zu demba me tongi ge ne re ma zu de zu yimba tela tsema je kanje chile so ne ya ke me do. Tela zu tanye de chi de zu le tsema je me ne chi de zu ite no ko ra ba ne na.
So now let's take a simple example of the form that all of which we are very familiar with, that we are reciting Heart Sutra. The form is empty, emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness. So this actually explains how one can establish conventional existence on the basis of non-intrinsic existence. When you talk about emptiness of, when you talk about the form, existence of the form, we're not talking about any other than form itself. It is based on the form by seeing that the form being existed. So therefore, we're talking about the existence of the form. In the same manner, when you talk about emptiness of form, here, we're also talking about on the basis of form, we're talking about emptiness of a form itself, right? So now the form being form cannot be rejected. There's no any other conventional, valid cognition which contradicts that form being form, the existence of the form and form being form. No other valid cognitions can reject form as a form being as a form. But now, when it comes to the form, actual mode of existence of form, then that arises the question. Actual mode of existence of the form, the mode of existence of the form is not intrinsically existence. And that is what we are talking here is non-intrinsic existence of the form. Within the non-intrinsic existence of the form can establish form.
다 드르기 수기 때는 막 관리 라딜이라 되는 수 따바르로서는 참아지 이제 너그를 왜라나 좋아 수 따바르로나 참아지 이제 너그를 수 맞다고도 너그를 되게 수를 내봐 말이야 수 따바이 받을 내봐라 수 따반지 플라트.
So now let's take another example here. When we talk about the form, if one says the form, if one believes the form is permanent, then the form very belief of the form being permanent will be invalidated by the conventional cognizer, conventional consciousness, which realizes form as impermanence, right? So, however, this is not contradicted by the form is not form is contradicted by the form being form.
마야 참아 타마데 주기 넬루생이 로테기 주를 내거를 사는 내거 말 단지 지발에 근데 주 라신 주번 짐바 텔라 neuro마도 주를 내고 말와 주기 라신 텔라 프로바 되게 아니 주를 내고 사는 내거 말에 대 가를 내고선 주 라신 주번 짐바 내고마도 주 짐바 내고 말에.
So now here, when when the realization of the form, actual mode of form of existence of the form, doesn't really invalidate the form itself, the existence of the form itself. It doesn't invalidate the object of that consciousness, which is the form, but it only invalidates the form, the misconceptions of the mode of existence of the form, which is the true existence of the form, is invalidated by the realizations of intrinsic lack of intrinsic of form, intrinsicness of form.
되지. 간제 주기 때는라 따치지 타니 지자도 권투고 다 간제 주기 때는라 아니 주 때는 매바 많이 봐도 고바지 아니 주대 사실 주가 매바니 때 주기 때도 고소나 주기 때도 따타의 체단 인가데 주기 때는 고라바치려서나 주기 때는 엄마 타지 따올 고알려.
So now one is able to establish free of two extremes within the form itself. Because how do we establish the view that is free of two extremes within the form? Is that form is not being form form being non-intrinsic existence will eradicate one of the extreme views, and then form is existed independently, eradicates another form of extreme views. So it is therefore, if one really examines very carefully and to think, critically, one will be able to establish the view that is free of two extreme views within the form.
단도 zugi nelu zu ta rashi ji tu du mundu tsenge de gesi ji niwa ina zu demba tu bani gore te thani da dewa ya mar kasa ko ta je chenge de ni zu thani zu rashi ji tu mundu ni tsego ar ma to thani tu bani tu mundu ni ge ya mar es gesi zu pena nelu le cheba chebe ko la cheta la ni so na zu demba tu bani gore tsebe ko la ni thani tu ba tse mewa yin zane
Oh, no. So here now, when we go through the analysis of critical analysis of this of the form, mode of existence of the form, we are actually by analyzing how the actual existence of the form. We're not analyzing whether the form being conventionally existence or not. So therefore, the very ultimate analysis of the ultimate conventional, ultimate existence of the form, analysis of ultimate existence of the form, will not be rejected by the conventional, understanding of the mind that understand consciousness that understand the conventionality of the form.
Rupani Chitu Zone, Tanya de Gedi Le, Dedu Juan, Onshu Tanso Le, Dedu Juan, Yena Yinan, Mina Minyanton Simbi Loto, Loto get name Des, Onshu Tanso, Dedu Chebadan, Gedi Le, Dedu Chebani, Ranjin Yumi, Ranjim Yumi. Suje de chebe jipe meduba tsongjang jipe mineba namba tangche ne me tsongbe sharo tele ranjin de re tela ranjin de ba momo nanje de ba temo mayen ba ken tabe zonzin chame dan da zo da onshula soba nane de da ke namba joba na de da ye range mu to ba yime jipe shene Tene teta shube jibe ten teta nyeba sane yaba yinbe. Tenda wadela ranjin yume shube jibe sheba jenji sheba kelango ba yinbe. Ten te jibe shizu dundubi shero. Teta shenane jiba jama mebe tabi kuzo ba minjong ye teta jibe manye na keba jete teta yona jiba teta ki nye gobi shero zudala soba aso. Yinda chensando mene.
That's all.
Yeah, good be sure was.
That's okay. You can. So let's read through the text, which is 179. So starting from the fourth chapter, the fourth paragraphs. The reasoning consciousness that actually analyzes whether something intrinsically exists does not contradict that which exists conventionally. What is posited conventionally must be established by the convention of valid cognitions. In addition, reasoning consciousness that actually analyzes whether it is intrinsically exists intrinsically exists definitely must not contradict it in any way. Whatever such reasoning establishes as existing must exist essentially, so it is contradictory for such to be conventional objects. Because of this, it is wrong to confuse the first one being contradicted, not being contradicted by reasoning consciousness, and the second being established by the reasoning consciousness. Such confusion is the basis of the misconception that the following two propositions stands equally, either both true or both false. Pleasure and pain arises conventionally. First, it's now here. The pleasure and pain arises conventionally from virtues and non-virtues. The second, pleasure and pain arises from a divine creator or the primal essence. So this misconception is incorrect. The two propositions are the equivalent to the extent that the line of reasoning that accurately analyzes whether things intrinsically exist will establish neither, but the two are not alike in all respect. One is contradicted by the reason, another is not. A partless object and subject, a self and primal essence, a divine creator. Such things are imaginary construct put forward in the unique assertions of the Buddhist and non-Buddhist essentialist. When they posit such, they do not. They do so after rational analysis of whether such things essentially exist. They thus, because they assert that these things can withstand rationally analysis, they have to accept this. Others accept that others outside of their schools can perform such rational analysis in order to discover whether these things intrinsically exist. When analyzed in this way, such things cannot withstand the pressure of inquiry by impeccable reasonings. Thus, when reason does not find them, they stand refuted for it. They did exist. Such reasonings would have to find them. So here now, although that the pleasure and pain arises conventionally from virtues and non-virtues, and pleasure and pain arises from the divine creator and primal essence, and both of these two are suitable in terms of non-intrinsic existence. However, they are not suitable in many other things, where it says this misconception is incorrect. But two propositions are equivalent to the extent that the line of reasoning that actually analyzes whether things intrinsically exist will establish neither. But the two are not alike in all respect. One is contradicted by the reason, and one is then other is not. Take a 10 minutes break.
Rashi Chitu Mata Nyeba Te Sana, Nusumbi Jete, Chita Tanda Te Hua Shividu, Tanjingan the Linsent.
So we are discussing on this this one that is we talked about earlier, that's the pleasure and pain arises conventionally from the virtues, non-virtues, and pleasure and pain arises from the divine creators and primal essence. When it comes to the non-intrinsic existence, both of them are correct. Both of them are suitable to be a non-inherent existence. Similarly, we talked about that non-Buddhist and Buddhist essentialist, the way they assert partless form, partless particles, and partless consciousness, and the conventional existence are all equally non-inherent existence. However, when it comes to the conventional consciousness, the correct conventional consciousness that analyzes the mode of existence of those, and that's a big difference.
Tanda Chuju de Tanda Nanga de Wonishi, Zudala Soba Na, Tani Bi Sheba, Shanagi Chuji Neba Mebana, Chita Jaba, Teta Jaba San Yinches, Nichila called Simba Chegri Mado, Teta Jin de Zang Tani Zang, the Danger Yinsi, Teta Juma Junior the Shene, Teta Sheba. They ranking to be Ranjini be lose Shene Kelamba Mimbe. They don't Ranjin you may she be Ribishi Shame de made the Teda Ribishi Zutu Mendebi Shero Pena Ansunda.
So now here in this paragraph actually summarizes the discussions that we have earlier. In this paragraphs, it beautifully summarizes by saying that we posit forms, sound, and such only as they are known to conventional consciousness, that they are not impaired by internal or the external cause of error. Right? And it says we do not assert them as a part of a system in which an analysis of whether they are mere conventions, or instead have objective existence, will find that they are essentially or intrinsically existence. Thus, the rational analysis of whether they intrinsically exist is irrelevant, because we do not assert that this object can withstand rational analysis.
당연히 그 이실 파차 신경에 변대로 변의 조절을 소바니 타니 비시바 상당히 추진되는 메시지 원시도서를 추진되고 있는 고르스바는 와다 지장신 논은 세에서 시 가사 추진이 내바라 다 나게 양 지가서 지 나차기 제선들이 된들이 양나만이 변의 존재비 도발의 테마인 발 텐진발을 소바 대다기 추진내바 명예지 시바지 로이 샤바장의 침배 제거를 마도 Tele Jembagi Karidus and Nelucesona, Tanya ye Sele gave a Cesar or Mado, Tanya debts on the Timbajan and Degrees. Tanya do you still?
So now here, as it stated earlier, by saying that the forms, sound, and so such only they are known to conventional consciousness, that they are not impaired by the internal and external and the cause of errors. So if one's consciousness is not impaired by external and external or internal causes of errors, then whatever that appears to one's consciousness can be established as a conventional existence without going through any analysis, without applying any analysis. In other words, when it's just mere appearance of that particular object, such as form and sound, are conventional existence. Of course, then when we go through the critical analysis of actual mode of existence, then that's a different case. Other than that, as long as your consciousness are not impaired by those errors, the cause of errors, then whatever that appears, the mere appearance of that is a conventional existence. We can go beyond that to find conventional existence.
Zugi nelu tsebe lo teke nelu se du mundu nelu se du meba kono rangla zugi toma nelu koba. Enrichi lo kogore ma to te meba te tanya te meba koa yena pena lu mundu sebe kala yene lanche mundu seba dago chano ure yese.
So when we go through analysis of analysis of actual mode of existence of the form, whether the form exists intrinsically or not. When you are applying a rational analysis, then the intrinsic existence of the form will be disappeared, which is believed by ourselves prior to one's critical analysis. Once you have gone through this rational analysis, one came to understand that such form does not exist intrinsically or in and of itself. There is just mere understanding of non-inherent existence of that form itself as the finding of the actual mode of existence of the form. There's no other things that can be established having found that non-intrinsic character of the form. There's no other thing that can be established on that. There's no any addition that is to be found other than finding the non-inherent existence of the form. For example, it is not that when you are finding that form being a non-inherent existence, then you are not, again, you're not here finding that the form itself doesn't exist conventionally. If this happened to once, if such things happen to us, then it's an example that we will find out later. But here we read, for example, if someone claims that there is a sheep, then it is inappropriate to analyze the claim by asking, is this horse or it is elephant? So this is, for example, it says, if someone claims that there is a sheep, then it is inappropriate to analyze that claims, this claims by asking it is a horse or it is elephant. But there's no, it doesn't make any sense at all, because somebody is just claiming a sheep, and then if someone comes and asks, is this an elephant or a horse?
되게 된다도도 가르치고 있어서는 조담마도서기 랑시지 마두바잖아 타녀도 매바 차도 오래세지 세대 랑시지 마두바 랑시지 두마두 제되기 타녀도 요매 제마sel은 저야 말했잖아 내대 저거 조담마도 오마도서 타녀기 랑시지 마두바데 시에서와이나 타녀 두바 매바 차도 오래세 깨체 히어와 다텔라네 랑시지 두마두 제게되기 타녀 두마두는 저야 말했잖아 시오.
So what it's really saying here is now when we go through the analysis of inherent existence, whether there's inherent existence of phenomena or not, when we're going through that, we're not actually going through the analysis of whether that that object exists conventionally or not. We're not going through that. We're just, when you are going through this non-inherent existence, whether the such object exists, non-inherent existence or not, it doesn't have anything to do with the conventional existence of that object.
타니도 요데 때는 요베 셔세이더라. 라시지 마두바 코로이 뭐 라운드 메와데 코테는 도와세데. 마스 다시 취쟁이 주생이 지어라. 디지. 덴드기 다시 타니 지저도 보세데. 덴드이 비진생이 때는 메바데 고토고리. 덴드이 비진생이 네 라시 라운드 두 메바데 고고.
So here now, in which all this complex situation can be solved by understanding the dependent originations. The dependent originations will then dispel the extreme views of extreme view of eternalism, extreme view of nihilisms. Both of the extreme views will be dispelled by this, by saying that such things doesn't exist. There's no inherent existence of the things in the event, because it is dependently originated, or dependent originations. It is dependent originations. It is not lack of conventional existence. It is not lack of conventional existence. It is because it is dependent originations. It is dependently designated. So both conventional existence and ultimate existence will be established by the reasoning of dependent originations.
타투소는 따와트 땡데 이거는 고고래. 슈바 처음에 봐 땡데 고고래. 뭐네 땡데 메나다 칼레점에 계획해요 말아. 가서 레게 비케스시네 땡은 용고 메나 찔레 땡은 용 고고 메나 아니 칼레점에서 그뭐 그런시 두더라. 다 땡은 디네 엄마 타지기 따와내서 미게 레 진짜게 저 마시게 계지 저 샤마이 계자 단단 가서 로드 사년 도수 용수 줘버대 땡데게 디노는 가서 샤시지 나게 되버죠.
Everything here, because if all those our practice of such as conduct and the views are all is done on the basis of dependent originations or dependence, without which there's nothing we could do. Our past life and future life, next life, and so on are all coming into being due to dependent originations. Our going, sitting, eating, doing things and that, all of this are operated within the dependent originations.
땡데스 이데 사나 슈침부 동동에나 니지 첨부 제벌 상추 선생을 제와 제벌나 제 라니를 때문에 제 편도 첨부 예마 텔라 때는 제 라니 내시면서 그래서 면도가 땡데 있던 관련도 때문에 그 지미에서나 아보라네 맞다 세컨되고 말아 나 여서도 사야 통연도에 여서 저거디 제기 트랜스너를 제 뭐지 임베자시보다 때는 좀 이거 소소지고 잠바서를 지다 단다 소소기 따와 그런데 쉬우지 너도바데 땡데를 과야 보여서나 다른 까투도.
So not only that, but also our practice of compassion. If one's practice of compassion is based on understanding of dependent originations, then one's practice of compassion becomes very effective. And because when you have this understanding of dependent originations, then there's everything coming into being, including one's practice. One will be convinced by that everything that coming into being existence is all dependently originated or dependently generated. There's no such thing that actually coming into being without depending on other factors. There's no such thing that exists in and of itself. So this will really help us, even just think about if one has if one's really belief system or one's own, view is based on these dependent originations, even if one is having a cup of tea or bite of bread and eating foods and so on and so forth, will be carried out on our day-to-day life on the basis of understanding dependent originations. Will have a great benefits.
맞아 마시 텐데스데 쉬우지 갈래전에 뭐 타니 우주 저들만도 마시 텐데 이게서 시게서 해야 돼요. 텐데 임비제라. 거기 뭐네 조 텐데 제사게 아마 임비제제 아마 임비 가디 첨부 임비제제 텐데랑 있던 고알레와 있는 미치미치 지가서 출루다 냐네 바치 우주 저거에 손이 지다 고알레게 민도. 텐데 고알레 통이나.
So here similarly, when it comes to the practice of the bodhicitta, the 7 cause and 7 cause, cause and effect practice of bodhicitta practice is also based on dependent originations. Think about, importance of recognizing all sentient beings as one's mother. Remembering their kindness and repaying their kindness and so on and so forth are all dependent upon each other's. Thinking one's mother is very kind to oneself. It's all based on understanding of dependent originations. When it comes to this understanding, understanding of dependent origination is nothing to do with the practice of Dharma or someone who believes in Dharma or not, someone who is a religious practitioner. No, just nothing to do with that. It's the reality.
가상게 대리 예르인바 짐바 소네 네 소비 유나네 말에 유나 임베 제테 간다 탕지 오마베 계속된데 봐 메노스 한남바시
So now here we read from the text again. There are things that have been known to the world from the beginningless time, and yet do not exist even conventionally, inasmuch as reason contradicts them. As examples, one can cite the essence that ignorance superimpose on things, the essentially existence, I and mine, and are conceived by the rarefying views of the perishing aggregates or the object of conceptions, that yesterday's mountains is today's mountain.
안되지. 다대로 나서 통화 멤버는 다다바도 아보랑 덴바 인생인 진대에 뜻은 통화 멤버는 다다바도 덴바 인생 자자. 진리 가르면 그 가르 자나요. 리빈네 바슈고이나 타녀데 켈네 타녀데 켈로 로고 말해서 타지지 범버로 와. 제다에는
from the beginningless time up until now that we believe to be existence. But if we apply a critical analysis, all of this, that we may have a strong belief in that existence, the existence become non-existence, not even conventionally.
So report 이 가르데 지켜내는 팀이 좀 멀어서 되더라. 나 소기 내가 좀 갈래카시 되래. 소소기 지 전쇼의 신쇼의 대바 임바데 진이 주면 아 배치는 통화 매번은 가서 단다 말이 비시원의 손에 소소의 대바다 소소의 딱 뭐에 내치기 바미도 나세지나 소소 그 쇼진 걸로 했잖아요. 제세 전다치는 상관은 소소 대바 임바 주되게 그래서 통화 매번에 아니 말이 비시원의 손이 반다치 되라.
It is because of we being under the control of this ignorance from the beginningless time up until now. Whenever we think that is true, it's always believed to be true by ourselves. And regardless of how much reasoning that they may have, reasoning that is being proved by the other parties or the other person. One's belief system it is so firm and so concrete that one will not give up anything, even though they might have a valid reasoning. But we will always find that some kind of, some kind of irrational reasoning from oneself, and then apply that reasoning to be able to establish that what you are saying, what you are believing is true.
가르를 가서 간이 같이어서는 변에 총선의 소소 노하게 냥자 옛날에 최선에 달롱과 편지 제가 편지 가르에는 냥좀 요소 줘봐대 나 생에 되게 demba 임바디 시샤지 전에 로랑 땅 런전의 캐진의 레메도 이제 나도 마이어 쇼데 demba 임바지 아니 소소 가서 먹어서도 되게 해서나 demba 임나라 demba 짐메도 통메도 아니 쇼노에 파쇼데 지네 윤리적인 넘버 시에는 니냐도 대소거라 어떤네 티저샤나 이제 용무도지 진짜 가르쳐서 아니 토마 매번에 단다바다 넬루 미시비 마리비 나고는 되네 아니 미기마타는 가리네 짜시로
So now all those problems that we have in our human society, such as in the family level, in the community level, and the global levels, all those problems, the problematic situations that we may face, is all because that what I'm saying is the true, what I think is the true. And mine is true, and mine is the right. This is the root cause of all these problems that we face in this world. And we think of what someone who is close to oneself and someone who see eye to eye with oneself says something, even if it's not right, you support that person. And someone who is disliked by oneself, then even this person has a right, all those reasonings and everything, that we reject that he's or her right. And this is what is happening from the beginningless time up until now. We are remaining under this control of this darkness of ignorance, so that we are unable to see the actual mode of existence of how things really are. And that is the main problem that we all have.
근데 가서 산나도 데 파쇼기 뭐데 신나 서버에서 고아대도 맞아 배트 추더라 딱 그때 이제 말이 비게 어디 슈 쳐다체 공부한테 슈 쳐다체네 코베데 메데 형바서셔 메데 형바서서는 형바서에 그 나사들 농지기 차롱이 로던지 형바서를만도 시기가도 통되게 계속 되니제 콜 형바스키 말어 코코노 라오이만 자자 코코노 이춘의 총으로 장전을 나타내 여러 여다 쿠키마 동에 쿠키마 동에 미시비 미바세나리 마리바세나리 당한지세나리 되게 뺐대 형바서셔.
So we always have a tendency of saying that when we see someone who's outrageous and someone who is have a personality of outlandishing personality, and we always we have a tendency of saying this person is crazy. So we are, without knowing that the commander that commands him or her to act in that way. If we know the commander of that person who actually commanded, who actually forced him or her to act in that way, then we will not say this person is outlandish, or this person is crazy, or this is out of his mind or so on. Because that person is, if you really think very carefully, is such a person is, actually uncontrollably, forced and, forced by his or her ignorance or the self-grasping mind. And there's a self-grasping mind or the ignorance that is behind all his or her actions.
내가 가서 이제 되게 마루바게 제 달라서 같은 게 또 두바친도서 다 천천히 소바기 다 간제 잡고치 되고라 대나 이제 되고가 나 이게 가서 다시 말이 뜻을 강가 규바 통해데 다시 말이 보이는데 딘주게 니 변화가 좀 변화 상하선을 하 있고 그래서 딘주게 단위 지나야 나봐 치와지 칸을 저도 천천 토는 이게 조이 미사다 가미고 세서나 아니 단다 로 가서 되게 선을 자기 말은 봐기 아니 미바세나리 간제 자기 말은 봐는 미비게 아니 카드 미 동안에 치와지 아니 천천 토대데 니지 단위 이나는 천천 토고에 진짜데 단지 말을 봐야 신나치게 진짜래도
So here now, our external enemies, such as someone who wants dislikes and so forth, can be defeated by physically defeated by using weapons and so on and so forth. But when it comes to the internal enemies that is within us, which is in one's own stream of being, it cannot be destroyed by those external forces. It is only through understanding how things really are, understanding the reality, our self-grasping mind or the ignorance can be eradicated by means of understanding how things really are. Similarly, we have in this for that we find deities with the wrathful forms, even though the wrathful forms are embodiment of compassion, but in appearance they look so wrathful and terrifying. It's a terrifying form. The very purpose of having this manifestation of this terrifying form is to subdue and eradicate the inner enemy, not to terrify the external individuals and so on and so forth, but to terrify and uproot our inner enemies, which are the grasping ignorance and the grasping at self.
지다처럼 가서 되게 좋아하잖아요. 니만 타마텔 좋아하잖아요. 그래서 좋아 그게 아예 연하게 좋아지 가해지네. 되면은 아니면 양성지도 만들고.
So given today is our last week of the month, which is supposed to be, given time for leaving a time for questions and answers. If you have questions, I will take some questions. If not, and I will just go through read through and try to find a chapter or the paragraphs where it is appropriate to stop.
Yes, if the background noise doesn't interfere too much, Rinpoche, I do have a question. This is all really subtle and all that. There was one statement by Jetsong Kappa that puzzled me, and I'd like some clarification. And that is, he says that a valid conventional consciousness is still a mistaken consciousness because it does not see the ultimate nature of its object. And this, I'm trying to understand conventionality and emptiness. I don't understand this because it seems to me that all a conventional consciousness does, sight consciousness or sound hearing consciousness or whatever it does, all it does is cognize the conventional nature of something. It doesn't in any way cognize its ultimate nature. It's not mistaken in what it sees. It just does not cognize the ultimate nature of what it sees. So how is a conventional consciousness mistaken? How does one ultimately see the ultimate nature of something when one's conventional consciousness does not show it to you? Is that clear?
Yes, very clear. There is go and the Jerem Chigan the Lam Rim Nanda Sungumendo da Horotanti Kong Kitayo of the Resharamche. The Kunzu with Samas the Sama Tuberes as you soon was. Kunzu with Sama Tuberes, the Sama Dundemares Arab Shida, go Tuberes edge. The Tuba in that Kandabina Kaisina go Kunzu with Same go Chukanda Kang Nilo Delia, Cocheva Chigmeta, Kunzuba Kaim, but the Koi Yudi Chiwar, the Yudi Jebanaji, Kunzuba Yudi Jeb, Kunzub the Yudi Jebanaji, Kunzub the Yorubas. Cheta Delia Tukwa came in the bus. This is the whole kind of Delia Ceremony. The Kunzubi Semi the Karsore, Che did a day Nilo Chevache Chigmaros, which you quayo maros, who Kunzu. Teacher was that's a Tidinza, and call 2,000 service.
아니요. 네, 되는잖아. 대단배나. 되나 아닌 데서로 배나 가서 탄저의 룰라 교도의 시범 먼저의出现的 배나 원시강을라다 원시에서나出现的时候 여기가 대나 있잖아. 배나 아니 교도 덴바르서라서나 교도 덴바시비 덴바데 로도이응을 덴저 되나 덴바메베질 교도 덴바스라고 교도 최용수도 봐. 교도 덴바시비 치수기 덴바데 아니 로데기 노멀에 여바나 희희 유비네스의 명화인산에 tel라 교도 덴바스 로데게 나와데 가른 나오르선 자차 자네 나차라 그런 거는 두 번째 나와인산 나와나지 매바치라 아니 가사 교도 덴바스 교도 줌바스 다도 그런 거대 버셔서나 내가 교도 덴바스는 덴바스라고 가르쳐서는 로데이 몰라 덴장 되어라만 덴바스 되어라만 덴바데 가르쳐서는 그런 유디는 로데기 유디는 통 집이가라 그리고 유디는 주바데 자체적 나오거든 지리에 말이다 제나 로지차노 나와나 이 매와지라 아니 그 추시 주바서는 라네 단절로 추시의 로신이 가가리라다.
So now, the first, according to Madhyamaka Prasankika, we must understand wrong consciousness and mistaken consciousness are different. We have to be very clear about that, first of all. Otherwise, we may mix up with these two, wrong consciousness and mistaken consciousness, okay? So here, now, when we talk about conventional truth, the conventional, what the conventional truth? The conventional and the truth, so two syllables. That this conventional phenomena is truth for the conventional consciousness itself. It is truth for the conventional consciousness. However, is it really true to all consciousness? Then it is not. Why? Because this conventional truth appears to the conventional consciousness as if that conventional truth exists by its own sight. The the object itself appears to the conventional consciousness as if the conventional truth exists its own sight. So this is how the conventional truth appears to conventional consciousness. So therefore, this conventional consciousness, this is for this reason, the conventional consciousness, conventional valid consciousness is said to be the mistaken consciousness, because the things doesn't exist as it appears to the conventional consciousness.
텔레코디오션은 배낭아니 맞소이 수수지 쭉 간르지 이도 있잖아요. 거기 있는 여바 코는 시작의 제비톤은 상자 주요를마도 그 이때는 민두스면 상자여만해. 얘나요 그게 짐바텔라 그 이때는 두번 징그 말해. 배낭원신이나 그 주이나 까보이나 까보레상들로 되어다 까보데 이때는 그 여바 시작전 한도에지. 내가 저기 시에데 이때 코로나는 두 가지 계지상 여말에서요데 아니 저랑게 통바나기 여말에다스 얘나 저랑게 통바나기 저랑게 지금 면도와서라디 그 라다도에 원시지나.
So now here appearing and apprehends are different. Okay, this is what it appears to the consciousness, but doesn't the conventional consciousness doesn't apprehend it as a true existence. Here now, for instance, for our consciousness, such as form and so forth, appears to our consciousness, everything that appears to our consciousness, particularly of the five sense consciousness, when those objects such as forms appear to our five sense consciousness, for the five sense to the five sense consciousness, that forms, sounds, and so on exist as it appears to its consciousness. This is how it appears to them. It exists in and of itself. It exists by its own side. That is, it appears to them. However, they do not, those sense consciousness are not apprehending them as it appears to them. So they are mistaken with regard to its appearing object. That's their appearing object.
다 텔레 맞죠 시나 가지 다 가서 다 시디의 바차다 집에 해봐시오네 제마 아니 주 무슨도 데미 무슨도 통비젤라 주 통비가 주 된도 지마다 통비콜라 아니 나차데 같이 줘요 거 나도 단다 있잖아 아니 나차 코노기 예나바 유저데 된지 빵사이나 시디 다 된지 시디 뉴디스나리 코 빵사비젤라야 단다 된한데 돼 바차이 그래서 신도는 참으로 바차 셀레비컬라 나 가서 돈이 무슨 또 상해기 강사기 질라니 다달에 되게 상차게 레바시는 있다요.
This is even though that one may have an ascertainment, one may gain the ascertainment of non-inherent existence of the phenomena. One will still have this latency of being things being exist its own side, exist by its own side, or in and of itself. Even though one may have ascertained that things being inherent, lack of inherent existence, and it's a very subtle, grasping at inherent existence will be still lingers. So, so this is how our sense consciousness, the object appears to our sense consciousness, as if this to the sense consciousness, as if those objects are existing by its own side.
내가 가서 또 되는 시라를 시험 말이거든. 내가 가서 동보 내가 또바치기 동반이 또비가라 지 나와까마다 버세거라. 잠시 휴청부 휴유도 이제니 또에다 또에게 유니도 잠시 답이긴 나와요. 아니 델레테스 휴체와 레베콜라 가서 빼자는데 걸라 오마춘의 수가 답어서 오마춘 하여고는 오마치 루서도 분만 주도서 저러 이제 때는 아니 동반이 무슨 또비가라 아니 나자의 장을 뭐 깨치 지는 매비서 출리 취자지 또베서 내가 해용비가라 아니 나도지 나 돈이 동에 내 인생이지도 돈이 피게 동에 내 생이지 깨치 지는 맹이지 아니 출리 취자지 내기 이게 어디 일은 주세요.
So this, let's talk about here, when we first come to understand the realization, when we first come to ascertainment of the realization of emptiness in a conceptual manner, the conceptual understanding of emptiness, in other words. When we gain this conceptual understanding of emptiness, and your subjective, the subject that understand the object concept of object emptiness are being so far, there's a big distance between these two. There's a distance. As you go to, as you continue to familiarize your conceptual understanding of emptiness in a sustained period of time, then this will take closer yourself. And the example is given that when the milk is poured into the water, it's a little different, but you see the milk is actually getting into the pouring and into the water. So this is how it happens. So the experience actually become closer to the one's experiential, the subjective mind become closer and closer to one's this objective emptiness. And when this is then practiced and familiarized for a sustained period of time, then that very conceptual understanding of your emptiness will become a non-conceptual and intuitive understanding of emptiness. Then the example is given that just this will then become your emptiness, and your mind, subjective mind, becomes a pouring of water onto the water. So if not, no questions, or what? Our time is up.
Yeah. Tell me do this. And it Kasa Tanya do Yomi Tsumbi Jinse do Mama Jita Temba Traba down Shema Jutama Kona Jaso said, when he yasa the Jasa.
That's all.
How far ahead should we read?
Yeah, Tadini, Tangazoki Seta, Masoki Chunyan, Chana Majana, South to set Tendel to set the Tombani to the Ane lawyer which Chema Jessan, a Kachamechi to Pita Chema Jessan, and much of the Tende on the Quachin and Sona, Quars, Tende, Shata Doji, Yorocha in Sona, and Mane, Chimadama Chagri. Mane, Sikangi Jodo Marco, you may be Nessi, Jean, Jichun and Drongi Charo Jana, and then Sanju Sama, the Sanjas and the Skang Yoga. And 20 chains are rather. Mazo Sanjay Chuji Chini Kazaba Tendin and Sunday, they are young in the city, Shinjum the Chola Mare, so Nanga Chitins are.
So when we talk about our practice in Dharma, is to understand, essentially to understand dependent originations. And one's very purpose of understanding the dependent origination is to understand emptiness. This dependent originations must be familiarized. And in other words, one's mind should be accustomed through practice, accustomed to understanding of dependent originations. If one is able to do this practice, whatever practice one may take, is on the basis of dependent origination, which is not going out of the boundary of dependent originations, then this is the practice that are done by the great bodhisattvas, Buddhas and bodhisattvas in the past. So all the teachings, in fact, it says, to understand the teachings of the Dharma must begin from the dependent originations, will then eventually take oneself to the beyond sorrow, or take oneself to the nirvana. So now let's do our dedication prayers here. By means of spending our 2 hours of time and listening to these teachings, one accumulated tremendous amounts of merits. And may all the merits that I have gained today for this 2 hours of time, as well as the merit that I may have accumulated the 3 times past, future, and the present, may I dedicate all those merits towards the longevity of the great beings, of great beings who uphold the teachings of the precious Dharma, and similarly, may these merits become a cause for gaining insight into the emptiness, the special insight, the unity of special insight, and shamatha, which then eventually lead us to the state of Vajradhara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Travels, Rinpoche. Safe travels. Have a good trip.
Okay. Okay, thank you.